I just put Chelsea. What the fuck is going on? And I've put 6 talking points. I put Badashile, Mudryk, João Felix, tactics, injuries, and Potter with a question mark. Okay. Now, before I start, I was going to do this tactically. I was going to do a tactical analysis. I was, because I'm interested. But the problem with that is that I don't know what tactics we're trying to play. So I can't really analyze it without knowing what tactics we're trying to play. And full transparency, this is coming from a fan's perspective. This is coming from a purely fan's perspective. I'm going to be saying we instead of they. Something, a little bit of one of my pet hates, especially when I'm trying to speak about it from a non-biased perspective. This isn't a Chelsea podcast, so I try and say they as much as possible. But for this, I'm just going to say we. Anyway, I digress. Chelsea. Was going to do this tactically, but I just don't know what tactics we play, so how can I do it tactically if I don't know what tactics we're actually trying to do? Anyway, maybe in 3 or 4 weeks I can come to a conclusion. Where do we go with Chelsea? Now, I wanted to speak about them at some stage. For the pretty much since Potter took over, I did one with Potter about comparing tactics. I'm pretty sure I did anyway, and with Tuchel. And I've wanted to do kind of like a catch-up kind of thing where I speak about them again, but I haven't really found the right time, and I wanted to do it after a win. And the Chelsea's last win before this came against Bournemouth. Well before the World Cup break. Sorry, it was actually the game after the World Cup. That's what it was. My apologies. It was the Boxing Day fixture after the World Cup, right? So I could have spoken about them. I could have spoken about that. I could have spoken about them at that stage, but I thought, no, I'll hold off. I was like, all right, we'll probably beat Forest, so I'll speak about them then. Didn't win. We might beat City, so I'll speak about them then. Didn't beat City. We could beat City again in the Cup. Didn't beat City in the Cup. We have to beat Fulham. I'll speak about them. Didn't beat Fulham. So I was like, am I ever going to speak about Chelsea? And then they finally pulled their finger out of the arse. In the memory of Gianluca Vialli, I thought it was a good performance in memory of one of Chelsea's biggest and greatest icons. Thank God we won in commemoration for Gianluca Vialli, who is looking down on the Chelsea team right now, thinking, "Gee, I could help these 11 blokes, couldn't I? Stick him up front, stick him on the touchline. He could help them, I think." So yeah, it was a good match in terms of the commemorations behind it. I thought both the Mathiardi and the Shed kind of did fantastic stuff in terms of commemorating them brilliantly. The round of applause was great. Getting all the Chelsea legends out was beautiful as well. That was a good moment, and we won. Thank God for that, because we needed to. Now let's speak about a couple of things. Let's speak about the transfers first. Transfers first. Chelsea, I don't get it. I really don't get it, because Chelsea signed ridiculous amounts of players in the off-season. Just off the top of my head, it was Koulibaly, it was Aubameyang, it was Zakaria on loan. Wait, let's do it back to front. So we didn't sign a goalkeeper. We signed Cucurella, Koulibaly, Fofana. They're the 3 centre-backs. They're the 3 defenders we signed, I think. Then we signed Zakaria. We signed it on loan. We got Aubameyang. Gallagher came back, so we won't count him. I must be forgetting. We haven't only signed 6 people. That can't happen. Yeah, so, okay. Actually, let's just look at all the players that Chelsea have brought in. Oh, yeah, of course. Okay, so Chelsea brought in Raheem Sterling, Koulibaly, Solonina, backup goalkeeper, Chukwuemeka, Cucurella, Quesadi from Inter Milan, Wesley Fofana, Aubameyang, Zakaria, and then in January we signed David Dachau Fofana from Molde, Badashile, Andre Santos, João Felix on loan, and Mykhailo Mudryk. All of these players, according to FOTMob, this is the amount: 265k, 85 million, 83 million, 50, 56 million, 13 million. This is dollars, by the way. This is dollars. $27 million, $96 million, and 22, 122, 18, on loan for nothing, 18, 54, 18, 16, 103. That's all in Australian dollars, by the way. I don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Considering Chelsea are in a position where they're in a transitional position, they can't go out and spend ridiculous amounts of money on players. I don't understand the logic behind doing that, because you're just filling up the squad with so much more potential dead wood. What Chelsea needed to do, and the way that, I'm not a director of football, right? So take my opinion with a grain of salt, right? What I would have done is stripped back the squad, gotten rid of all the dead wood first, and promote the kids. Even if it means Chelsea finishing 11th, 12th, 13th for one season, and then potentially even 2 seasons, right? The thing is with football, a lot of people don't realise this. The thing is with football is that it comes around next year. So even if you have a bad year, you can just go again the next year. If you have a bad year again, you can go again the next year. And what that allows you to do is that it allows you to prepare. It allows you to prepare for next season and the season after that and in 10 seasons' time, right? So I would have stripped back all the deadwood, the likes of Aspilicueta, the likes of Jorginho, the likes of, I think, N'Golo Conte. I think his time is done. I think he's been a great player. I think he's a great player when he's fit, but he's just never fit. The likes of Ruben Loftus-Cheek, maybe the likes of Hakim Ziyech, Christian Pulisic, Kai Havertz, to maybe if you think that, Edouard Mendy, if you think that, like, these players who are not kids but not the best and who aren't good enough, because I think because I spoke about this last week with Chelsea, how the gap between the kids and the best is too great. So you need to fill up that gap with a bunch of squad players, right? And a bunch of players who don't think they're the best. The problem with that is that the players that Chelsea have in that bracket are terrible. They're not good at football, right? They suck. Or at least they're playing poorly. So they need to refresh that aspect first and promote the kids. Promote Gallagher, Loftus-Cheek maybe if you want to keep him. Chukwuemeka, when you sign him, obviously promote him and give him the game time that he deserves, right? Lewis Hall has been great. Amari Hutchinson as well has showed some signs of promise, despite not seeing the world alight, right? So you have to go about it in a certain way. Chelsea going about it by just picking out, I'll sign you for 80, you for 80, 60, 40, 100, 85, 90, 75, 30, 42, 25, 28. Like, you can't just pick out players and just attach arbitrary values to them. Like, I just don't think it's smart business. I really don't think it's smart business. Like the Mudryk signing, right? I think he's got 7 and 7 in 11 starts in the league, right? Which is great. Great return. 14 goals, goal contributions in 11 starts. I think something along those lines. That's great. That's really good. That's something Chelsea need. But for £100 million, £80 million, I know money is a figment of our imagination, and financial fair play is even more of a figment of our imagination, right? Both of those things in football do not exist. Money does not exist in football. It is fake. It is just a number, right? There's no actual value anymore. It's just a number. And financial fair play, well, that's been a farce for however long, right? So that's not news to anyone. But the way that Chelsea are going about this, both transfer policy-wise, tactically, the vision that Todd Boehly is trying to put on this group and put on this squad, I just don't know. In Nkunku as well, I forgot about him. He's a player that's coming through. I don't know. I really don't know. It is one of those things, isn't it? Where do we start? I've spoken for about 10 minutes. Like, where do you go from here? Like, where do you go? If we look at the squad, let's look at the squad. And if we're looking at potential for the next Chelsea title-winning squad, let's look at it, right? When are Chelsea next going to win a title? Who's going to be in this squad? Kepa, Bettinelli, Mendy, or Slonina. Anyway, the goalkeeper that we signed. Probably none of them. I can't say Mendy being there. Kepa, to me, is too inconsistent, even though it was great on the weekend. Mendy, to me, can't play with his feet, doesn't fit the pot away. I think none of them. Defenders. Aspilicueta, too old. Thiago Silva, by the time Chelsea were going to win the league, he might be 46. So, probably too old. Koulibaly, same thing, and he probably isn't good enough, let's be honest. I think Ben Chilwell will be there. I think Trevor Chalobah will be there. Reece James will be probably captain. Mark Cucurella, he's 24. I think he'll be there. Fofana and Badiashile, probably as well, right? Probably as well. If we go to midfielders, Mateo Kovacic, potentially. Jorginho, no. N'Golo Conte, no. Zakaria, probably not. Loftus-Cheek, probably not. Mason Mount, probably. Conor Gallagher, probably not. Carney Chukwuemeka, yes, and Andre Santos, probably. Forwards, Aubameyang, no. Sterling, probably not. He's 28, probably not. Hakim Ziyech, no. Christian Pulisic, probably not. Kai Havertz, probably not. João Felix, probably not. Mudryk, you'd assume so. Broja, maybe. Fofana, probably. That, to me, screams a squad that needs overhauling. That needs refreshing, and that needs to be completely torn up, in a sense, and refurbished. And the first... So, here you go. Here's an analogy for you. When you tear up carpet to put floorboards in, you don't put the floorboards in first and then tear up the carpet. You tear up the carpet and then put your floorboards in. You tear up what's already there to refurbish it, to change it, to get it better, to make it look nice. Chelsea have looked at this carpet that needs fixing and have gone, I'll tell you what we'll do this, just a bunch of wooden planks on top of it. No order, no real structure to anything. Just chuck as much wooden shit on top of it to make it look like floorboards, and you'll be fine. That's the equivalent of what Chelsea have done. There's been no care. There's been no methodical true style of signing that Todd Boehly has gone with. It's just, okay, who's been in the news? Oh, this Mudryk guy, Arsenal wanting for 100 million. Yeah, let's just buy him. Let's just get him. What transfer policy is that? Like, that's not a transfer policy. What transfer policy is that? If Arsenal went after him, if Arsenal didn't want to sign Mudryk, and Fabrizio Romano wasn't allegedly, potentially, maybe, who knows, paid off to do some things around the deal, Chelsea would not... Todd Boehly wouldn't even know who the bloke is, right? Todd Boehly wouldn't know who the bloke is. So let's just get that fact, right? Let's just get that factual, right? It is the most absurd transfer policy. And it goes to show once again that Chelsea are a disconnected football club. We're a disconnected football club. There is a very, very little faith I have in this football club. Very, very little faith I have in this football club in terms of the direction that they're going. The direction that the club's going, I have little faith. I have a few things that I like. One of them isn't the injuries. The injury record is ridiculous. I don't know whether or not they're being overplayed, overworked, overtrained. We don't have a physio, or we have shit physios, we have shit doctors. I don't know, but that needs to change, because we can field a starting 11 that's injured. That would be better than our starting 11 that actually plays. Let's get that for fact, right? Secondly, that's the thing, the transfer policy as well. They're the two things which I potentially don't like, and the transfer policy kind of enhances or kind of moves along to the general direction of the club. Okay, so you have that. And then, so they're the things that I don't like. What I do like about this club, though, is two things. Some of the players, like I said, I think Badiashile showed good signs. Reece James, obviously. Chukwuemeka, obviously. Lewis Hall, obviously. And Barry Hutchinson has shown some not bad signs. Mason Mount, I still really like Mason Mount, and there is that aspect of the squad which I like. The young core in this squad I like. Despite it being bought in some places, I do like this young core. And I do love the man on the touchline. I do really like Graham Potter. I really do. I think this is where I kind of wanted to do a tactical analysis, but I still want to wait until our tactics are set in stone, right? I want him to succeed. I really do. And I think he will. Given time, given backing, given time, given backing, and given the freedom to sign the players he wants to sign and to play the way that he wants to play without being pressured into you must get results, otherwise you're sacked. Which I know is a tough ask for Chelsea Football Club, right? But I think he can do a very, 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 very good job for Chelsea. Very good job. I think he can be the first English manager to win the Premier League. It's between him and Eddie Howe, right? Either of them are going to be the first manager to win the Premier League, and I think Potter tactically is a little bit better than Howe. I think Howe potentially has better man management skills, but I think Potter has been a person that wants to improve that side of his managerial game. He's been very public about that as well, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah. And and this goes on to what Chelsea need, right? And there's a poster over my right shoulder that kind of demonstrates what Chelsea need as I turn and sorry, apologies for audio listeners. But if that's going to focus on that poster up there. I'm moving out of the way so it focuses on the poster. Once again, apologies for audio listeners. I'm just pointing to a poster which I'll now describe. That's in the background of the shop. That poster up there. If it's focusing on it, it's focusing as best it could. Now, that is the kind of the stage and the scene that was that has been illustrated in the 87th minute of the 2012 Champions League final at the Allianz Stadium or the Allianz Arena in Munich, the 19th of May 2012. 62,500 people in attendance on a beautiful 7:45 p.m. kickoff. There was a moment in that game where Chelsea needed a certain type of player, and I feel like this is pretty poignant as to what Chelsea don't have at the moment. The ball gets swung in from Juan Mata, and uprising Didier Drogba, and the commentary: Chelsea's man for the big occasion scores his biggest ever goal in what may be his last match for the club. Right? Of course, we all know he scored the equaliser, scored the penalty in the shootout. It's good. We all know that, right? But the reason why I wanted to bring that up was because that squad and that man, Didier Drogba in particular, signifies one type of footballer. One type of footballer that Chelsea have lacked for a very, very long time. Potentially ever since that man scored that goal. A leader. A true grab the game by the horns, grab the team by the scruff of the neck, grab them by the collar, and drag them over the line leadership. When was the last time Chelsea had that? Eden Hazard? Maybe. Diego Costa? Maybe. But ever since that man scored that goal in that game to win that trophy in that stadium against that team, Chelsea have lacked that leader that stands up when the responsibility is on him to stand up. Doesn't have to be a striker, doesn't have to be a player in the same ilk as Didier Drogba. It can be a goalkeeper, centre back, centre mid, right back, left mid, left back, who cares? And it doesn't have to be a shrewd business decision. It could be a £100 million player. It could be an academy player. Chelsea need a player that when the moment is there for the game to be won, or when the moment is there for him to save his team, or when his team needs saving, that's the time where that player grabs the team and says, "You're coming with me, we're getting a result." Chelsea don't have that. Chelsea have 11 players who, like the man here, Didier Drogba, right? One of the most selfless footballers of all time, right? Especially for Chelsea. One of the most selfless footballers of all time. He was a number 9 who didn't really care about scoring goals, right? He was a number 9. That's job, and what he was best at was getting other people into the game. That in itself shows true selflessness, right? But that's besides the point. Chelsea have a bunch of selfish footballers in a sense of they want everyone else to do the hard yards and they want to take the glory. A lot of players in this squad are like that. He wasn't like that. Frank Lampard wasn't like that. Petr Cech wasn't like that. John Terry wasn't like that. Even as far back as the 05 team. Claude Makelele wasn't like that. Joe Cole potentially wasn't like that. I don't know for a fact. Damien Duff. These players weren't like that. Right? They had the glory because they put in the work. This squad wants all the glory without putting in the work. There's about 3 players in this squad that want to put in the work and are showing that they're putting in the work. He's a player that put in the work day in, day out. And what did he get? He scored his biggest ever goal in what may be his last match. The perfect footballing story. Granted, it wasn't his final match for the club, but the story is still the same, right? The club need to point to players like him and point to players in a similar ilk of him to show what this club needs. This club needs players who, and I spoke about the transfer policy, this is about who they should target, right? Chelsea need players who are leaders of not just a team, but a club. Are leaders of clubs, of football clubs. They're the leaders. They're the spokesperson. They are the representation of a football club. That's what he was. That's what a lot of people in that squad that won that trophy were. And have won leagues before it, and won leagues and cups and so many trophies before it. That's the type of player that those players were. Chelsea don't have that at the moment. And that's something that they need. Because what this allows, I keep pointing to him because I want it to be fully known that what he allows, what players like Drogba allow, it allows for so much pressure to be put off everyone. Because when you have strong leaders throughout the team, that spine of Cech, Terry, Lampard, Drogba, for the best part of a decade, just over, right? And then sprinkled in there, at times, your Michael Ballack's, your Michael Essien's, your Joe Cole's, right? These players, your Juan Matas, your Ramirez, your Ashley Cole playing left back, right? Another leader, right? Another player, I think, in this game, that penalty in this game, right? Like players who will just be players who take so much pressure off the coach, so much pressure off the board, so much pressure off the club, because when the line is ready to be drawn, they pick up that stick and they draw the line in the center and they say, no, we're taking this club over the line. We're getting a result. We're getting through this period because they're leaders, and that's what they do. The squad that we have right now don't have leaders. They don't know how to deal with when things don't go their way. There's about 3 leaders in this team. Whereas in teams like that, Drogba, Lampard, Terry, Cech, Cole, Ballack, so many leaders. So many leaders. Almost practically 9 leaders in that team. So that's obviously something that Chelsea need to target. They need to develop. And that comes from the top down. You can say what you want about Chelsea in the mid-2000s and how obviously Roman came about, etc., etc. But Chelsea in the Roman era, really, but in particular from about 04 till 12, pretty much till that moment, Chelsea were a strong football club with standards. Strong football club. I don't agree with the constant sacking of managers, like Mourinho goes and then it's Scolari and then Grant and then Di Matteo gets sacked 6 months after that game. Villas-Boas. Anyone else that I'm missing? I don't think so. I think they were those four. Ancelotti gone. Rafa gone. So I don't agree necessarily with that type of rotation, but what you had was you had an owner who cold. Roman Abramovich, cold owner. You had a coach, Jose Mourinho. I know he wasn't the boss then, but the point stands. You had the coach, Jose Mourinho, cold. Frank Lampard in midfield, cold. Didier Drogba up front, cold. Leaders of men that took no shit from anyone and that got the job done. Chelsea don't have that right now. I think Graham Potter can become that. I think he's still young, still relatively inexperienced. I think he can become that with time. Thiago Silva is that, but he won't be there for long. I think Benoit Badiashile can become that. This big, dominant presence, aggressive centre-half. I think he can become that. I don't think Kepa can become that, or Mendy. Well, Mendy maybe, but I don't think he'll be there for much longer. Mount, maybe. Fofana up front. I mean, like the striker Fofana, maybe. Who knows? But that's something that Chelsea need. And that's the way that they can turn the ship around, by getting players like him. Just wanted to point that out. I just wanted to get it involved a little bit, because I've touched on the ones over my left shoulder, big R9, a big Zinedine. Where is he? There he is. Wanted to touch on these ones as well, which I did. Okay, I think that's probably enough on Chelsea. Otherwise, I'll drive myself mad, and no one wants that. Trust me, no one wants to see me flip my load. That's not it. Flip the table. I can't think right now. To be honest. But all I do know is that that's enough on Chelsea. Spoken about them for quite a while. Okay, let's move.